Shalom.
Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, uh, Shalom, Shalom. You know, peace be unto you, your family, your household, right? Um, Want to start by giving all praises, glory, and honor be to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob through his only begotten Son, who serves as an instrument of salvation for the nation, right? And we know that nation to be Israel. So, this lesson discussion um, is pretty much titled, don't let that go to your head. And it stems from, I guess you could say, a conversation that I had with my wife this week, just about something that, vexed me on my, I guess you could call it a 9 to 5, right? Um, so pretty much, man, what I mean by don't let that go to your head, it's just like we say all the time, we can't get caught up in the cares of this life too much. And we have to remember, as those who believe in the Bible, who believe in the scriptures, we have a certain standard that we have to follow when it comes to living our lives, when it comes to the possessions we obtain, when it comes to the positions that we're in, right? So we'll hit a few scriptures, right, to just cover this topic. And Lord willing, throughout the duration of this video, most high willing you edify, most high willing you learn something new, most high willing you take away something that you could help. Um, I guess you could say it could help you throughout, your week to week life, whether you own a job, whether you're in public, whether you're at home, anything, right? So if we could, let's pull that first precept in Matthew. And again, Shabbat Shalom to those again who are keeping the Sabbath today, right? I know I said it once, but I'll say it again. Uh, Most high willing you having a peaceful Sabbath, right? But let's start here at yeah, that's why. Okay, let's just start at verse number 36. Verse 36. So that way we can get clarity of what's going on. 39 is what I want to read, but I think reading 36 would make more sense.
Matthew chapter 22 and 36. Master, which is the great commandment in the law? Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment.
So,
And
Salakia, remember we did a video a few weeks ago, just going into, how we're supposed to serve the Lord. What's our duty? What is our relationship supposed to be like towards the Most High, right? And we went over this. The first and great commandment is to serve the Lord, fear Him, love Him, serve Him, right? So now we didn't even go to 39, so let's cover that a little bit, right?
Verse 39. And the second is like unto it, Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
Right. Read verse 40.
Right. Verse 40. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets.
Yeah. Now I'm not going to pull the Bishop Azrael version of the video and put the hangers in and show you the example of the similitude of what, Christ is saying right here, right? Because the brother covered that already and he eloquently stated how or what exactly that statement means. On these two hang all the law and the prophets, right? But going back to 39, and when it says the second is like unto it, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, this is a commandment, again, a standard that we must live our lives by, right? So it was supposed to be a 3-part series. I never finished, and Salakia, I never finished putting together the second part of what we covered a few weeks ago. But this is one of the staple, one of the most important scriptures throughout all the Bible. Why? Because it's important to know how we should treat one another, right? Regardless of position, regardless of title, regardless of, gender, regardless of financial status, regardless of anything, social class, whatever you want to call it, right? We have a certain way that we should treat one another. And Christ said we should love our neighbors as we love ourselves. Why? Because, see, going to the laws of God If I love my neighbor, I won't sleep with his wife. If I love my neighbor, I won't steal from him. If I love my neighbor, I won't murder him. If I love my neighbor, I won't bear false witness against him. Right? And also, if I love my neighbor, I won't oppress him through being high minded because of a certain status or position or title that I hold, especially in captivity. Right? If we could jump to let's go to the book of uh, Salakia. Let's go to the book of First John chapter 2, right? We're gonna go there and then we're gonna jump somewhere else. First John 2. The reason we're going here, right, is because when people begin to treat you a certain way because of, the position that they're in, they talk to you a certain way because of the position that they're in, you know, they just kind of like hold themselves, I guess you could say, with their nose stuck up in the air, right? And kind of looking down on you like you a servant, you a peasant because of the position that they're in. They tend to have these characteristics that's mentioned in First John 2. Let's go to start at verse 15. If you
First
could,
John 2, starting at verse 15.
Con.
Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him.
Right. So you see people treat you kind of crazily when they love the world. Why do I say that? What equivalence does that have with, being prideful? Because again, the love of the world, the possessions that you could get from it, that causes you to act a certain way, right? Funny, shady, it doesn't matter whatever word you want to call it or associate the behavior with, right? Either way it go, the commandment that Christ gave us, right, was the second great commandment, which is love our neighbor as ourselves, right? If I love myself, I'm not going to be arrogant towards myself or stuck up towards myself, meaning I know that if I'm allergic, right, to a certain food, if it's lawful, I'm not going to eat it just because I can afford to do so and expect my body to just deal with it. You know what I'm saying? Because why? I can cause myself to go into the hospital, get rash, get sick. In worst case scenarios, some people can even die from eating certain foods that their body has an allergy to, right? The same way when it comes to treating friends, families, brothers and sisters in the truth, right? When you hold a certain position, right, you shouldn't I guess you could say you shouldn't deal with them ignorantly, like you have no knowledge of the commandments of the Lord. Why? Because the Lord gave us a commandment to follow through his son. He said it in the law that he gave to Moses, right? So there's certain behaviors that you have to exemplify when you know certain information, right? And when you know certain information, you shouldn't act a certain way towards anyone or anybody. Now, I'm speaking this solely from a standpoint of how I not from a conversation of any sort or any interaction I had with another Israelite or anything. This topic stemmed from a position that I'm in and a position that uh, I guess you could say our oppressor is in at my workplace, right? So let's go to the book of Second Maccabees chapter 1. Keep it wide because I want to read a specific. It's verse 28, but I wanted to see if 27 goes into that as well, just for context. Context. But like I'm saying again, this didn't come from another Israelite. Another Israelite was being shady towards me, or nah, it wasn't nothing like that, man. You know, we say it all the time, man. And the brother Danal had it read in his lesson. I want to say that was last week when he was like, I've seen servants upon horses, right? And princes walking upon the earth as servants, right? So it's just one of them things where you get vexed, and it makes you think about stuff and it makes you, say type of prayers and, Lord willing, things change. But this is just a message for the nation to don't let anything that you have and attain in this life go to your head, right? Let me see. Go down to verse 27. This
Oh,
second Maccabees.
yeah. You said 27. I thought you
Yeah,
said
27.
75.
Yeah, let's start right here, right? 27. We're gonna read 27 and we're gonna read 28.
For Second Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 27, gather those together that are scattered from us, deliver them that serve among the heathen. Look upon them that are despised and abhorred, and let the heathen know that thou art our God.
Right. So this is one of the things, one of the prayers that we can see found in the Maccabees that the people during that time were praying. But this is also, I'm sure, a prayer that a lot of people prayed throughout each and every captivity. I know every last word spoken and uttered by an Israelite wasn't recorded, in the original manuscripts. But at the same time, I'm sure every law-keeping Israelite, that was dealing with oppression, kind of had the same heart and spirit and mind, just like Judas Maccabees and his counterparts during that time, right? So let's keep reading, verse 28.
Verse 28, punish them that oppress us, and with pride do us wrong.
So punish them that oppress us, and with their pride they do us wrong, right? Again, this is coming from an interaction that I had with the heathen at work, right? That's in a higher position than me, right? That has authority over me, and that I'm in under subjection under, right? Again, this is just a reminder for the nation. If the Lord were to bless us, if you're blessed enough at work to be in a managerial position, if you're blessed enough at work to be the CEO, if you're your own boss and you have employees under you, right? You own your company, you own your business, and you have employees under you, always be a good, I guess you could say, master towards your servant, right? Because let's go to the book of Ephesians chapter 6, and let's start at verse number 5.
Ephesians 6 and verse 5.
Yeah.
I also want to say while we head in there, man, we was just talking, Ephesians 6, verse 5. We was just talking, I don't remember if it was watching a football game or what, but some of the brothers was talking last week about one of our brothers who's been applying to managerial positions, right? Trying to get some extra bread. And he was telling us how it's hard for him to get or to land a job after the interviews. He thinks that, after the interviews, he's a shoo-in for the job, but it seems like it's hard for him to get the job. He's expecting a call back because he think he did great, but he might not get a call back, right? I'm saying this to say the other day, me and Denal had a conversation about managerial positions, and the so-called black woman, the so-called black man, right? We think that managerial positions are like, the president. You know what I'm saying? We try to get to them positions, but I was telling Denal, I said, that's the bare minimum. That's like right above regular worker, right? We're not talking about superintendents, directors, supervisors. We ain't talking about that. We just striving to be managers, and it's hard for us to even be managers. That's how low they treat us here. And then when we get a manager job, we ready to retire and give up right there. There's a few of us that keep on, striving to get up to the top. But trust me, you get up to the top, you're gonna have to do a lot of pretending and cooning. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have to have a mean switch, right? And the favor of God upon your life. But I say all that to say, like the brother Isaiah is going into, right? They rule over us in pride, right? They know that the system is rigged. They know that, hey, if we could just make the manager position seem like fine gold to them, we don't even got to worry about them getting up higher. They're just gonna always strive to be managers. They're gonna always try to get the interviews with the manager position. They're gonna always try to get to that spot. And once they get there, it's like, good job. You worked 10 years, you got your manager position. We don't even got to worry about you no more because you ain't trying to move up. Right? But man, that's just the state of our people at right now. You know what I'm saying?
Con. And the crazy thing is, man, like the brother said, we treat these manager positions like fine gold, which isn't a problem. The problem is that a lot of our people who get in these positions, man, again, that first precept we read, right? Matthew 22, well, I guess the third, with verse 39, though, love thy neighbor as thyself. We forget, to have the same type of uh, love and charity towards one another when we get in these positions. So we have to remind ourselves to kind of not not get the big head because of the promotions that the Lord give us. You know, I'm not the one to say that if you getting blessed in life, the Lord's not dealing with you. No, that's not true. You know, but what I will say is that again, a lot of our people, I would be willing to say that a lot of our people are in a lowly state right now, right? But when it comes to those who the Lord uses to be in certain positions of power, you just got to remember, don't let your position of power allow you to forsake your God. And there's a precept we're going to read exactly for what I just said. But first, we're going to deal with this, right? In the book of, where we at again? Ephesians 6. Ephesians 6. And let's read verse 5.
The book
We're
of
going to read
Ephesians.
5. Yeah, Con. We're going to read 5 through 9.
The book of Ephesians, verses 6, starting at verse 5. Servants, be obedient to them that are your masters according to the flesh, with fear and trembling, and singleness of heart as unto Christ.
So I'll read this to say, now, I also, I had to talk with my wife, man, and I had to do some. Now, I ain't gonna even say I had to do this, right? Because I know this. So there are times when you are in a position, and though you may feel like, you're a harder worker, you're more qualified, to be in a higher position than, someone who is above you, right? And you trying to prove yourself, you got to remember that regardless of how you feel, regardless of, whether or not you're, I guess you could say, cordial with that person or you like that person or not, you always got to remember that you have to respect the position regardless of what it is. I'm not saying you respect the man. I'm not saying you respect the woman. I'm just saying at the very minimum, respect the position that you have and that they have. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter why they were placed over you. It doesn't matter if you agree with it or not. Your job is to always be a good servant to them that are your masters, right? Now, people like to twist this and use this to see, oh, this proves the Bible is a slave book. No, master is just referring to someone who is your boss, right? A lot of people have masters because not everyone is their own boss, right? Some people have master's degrees. So at the end of the day, what I'm saying is that you always want to be a good hireling. I think that brother Azrael did a lesson on that last year, or Donald, one of the brothers did a lesson on that last year about being a good hireling, right? Regardless of the job requirements, regardless of how well you do the job, and if you perform better on the job than your supervisor, than your crew leader, it doesn't matter. You have to be a good hireling because you're not judged by what somebody else does. You're judged by what you do, right? And if it happens to be that your people, your brethren, is one of the people in positions of power over you, right? Again, you got to remember the second great commandment that was like unto the first: love thy neighbor as thyself. Again, it doesn't matter if they don't show you the love that Christ showed us. It doesn't matter if they don't show you the love that the Most High God put in His Word. It matters if you show them the love that the Lord put in His Word for you, right? Because again, we're judged by our own actions, not the actions of another man. So remember, it doesn't matter what position you're in. If you don't like your supervisor, if you don't like your boss, if you don't like your crew leader, you don't like your coworker, if somebody has a higher position than you at your workplace, right? Regardless of what your position is, regardless of your skill set and what separates you, doesn't matter if you keep all the law, wear the fringes, doesn't matter if they're a heathen, you have to do right and be obedient because why? It's the right thing to do. It's the wisdom that was given unto us. It makes you look good and not bad, just like we read in Romans 13. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, man, a big part about it is always keeping your integrity, man. Integrity is usually a word they ask you to define in job interviews, but integrity is also a big part of that Bible, right? A big part of that holy text. When we look at Job, when we look at Daniel, when we look at Joseph, when we look at David, all men that kept their integrity. And I say that to say this: if you're looking to be in the kingdom, right? And if you know the truth of the scriptures, if you know that we're going to, like David had, have servants ourselves, right? And you know you're going to be put captains of 10, some will be captains of tens, some will be captains of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. If you know that and you want people to be good servants unto you, you got to keep your integrity here in the flesh, right? When we're getting tried, because The only way that you're gonna reap what you sow is if you kept your integrity. If not, you can expect now it's not gonna happen in the kingdom, but you can expect that your servants in the kingdom, right, are gonna disobey you. Now it's not gonna happen in the kingdom because if you didn't keep your integrity down here, you might not be in the kingdom to have servants. And if you do make it to the kingdom, you might be least in the kingdom. You might not have no servants. So the whole thing is you gotta keep your integrity. Integrity is a must. You got to think about how would I want my worker to treat me, even if I got angry or upset and I talk bad to one of my workers on an accident or I was having a bad day. How would I want him to treat me? Do I want him to steal from me, talk bad about me, quit? Do I want? You got to ask yourself how you want your servant to treat you, and then you got to treat your whoever your earthly master is right now the same way. Right? And like the brother Isaiah said, right? The second commandment, right? Love your neighbor as yourself. When we see our brothers and our sisters, know that. Know they not finna treat you good. Know that they still scared of their oppressors too. So they gonna go extra hard on you. Know they gonna pick on you. Know they gonna turn a blind eye towards you. Know they're gonna elevate other people of other nations higher than you, faster than you. And you gonna think, that you are deserving. Right? But that's when integrity comes in, and that's when that second commandment comes in. You got to love them anyway, man. You got to be proud that, they even made it to that position. One of us made it to that position, even if they treating it wrong. And if you are elevated in that position, know that you're not elevated for yourself. You're elevated for the betterment of your God and for your people. When we look at David and the three Hebrew boys, they were elevated for God. When we look at, my bad, I meant Daniel. But when we look at David, he was elevated. He was elevated for his people and for his God. We look at Joseph. He was elevated for his family. We look at Esther. Purim's coming up. She was elevated
for the nation.
So you got to understand when you elevate it, it's not for you and your family. It's for the betterment of either God or God's people. And you got to figure out how you can fit that in to your elevation. But are you?
Khan, just like the brother said, great leader was David. He frequently visited his people in all positions. He knew his flock and their needs. He walked the streets and knew the people, right? Salam. So, yeah, like again, like the brother put in the comments, like the brother Azrael just stated, certain leaders, man, and David was one of those leaders he mentioned that were great leaders that had servants, right? And just like he just said, when you put in positions, you got to think about who the position is for, not necessarily yourself. And he also said something controversial. It's not controversial to me, but it's controversial because somebody may be like, nah, I disagree with that, right? He said, even if somebody like of your people is in that position and they abusing the power, right? You should be happy that they're in that, right? Why? Well, the why is because not only does that mean that your company will do diversity hires, right? But two, it shows that, okay, if they can obtain that position, I can obtain that position. But the thing is, it may take you longer to get, where they're at, right? But at the end of the day, like the brother said, you got to keep your integrity regardless of how long it takes, what your job requires, who you're dealing with, because again, you are required to be a good hireling. You are required to be a good servant, right? He brought out the best example possible. How would I want my servants treating me? How would I want my people acting under my rulership and authority, right? But it's also important to count the second part of that, right? But before we move on with that, let's finish verse 6.
Verse 6.
Let's 6 through 8, and then we'll read 9.
Verse 6. Not with eye service as men pleasers,
Right.
but as the
One
servants.
Salakia. Our service as men pleasers, wanting to be somebody who wants to be seen doing the right thing all the time, but only when the eyes are on you, right? Not somebody who has good character and when the lights are off and nobody's watching, you doing all the wrong things, right? Let's keep reading.
But as the servants of Christ, doing the will of God from the heart.
That means it's in you to do it regardless of who's watching. It's in you to do it regardless of the situation, circumstance. It don't matter if the lights is on and it's 100,000 people in the stands, or if the lights is off and you in the gym putting up shots by yourself. You're gonna do the right thing regardless. You always gonna touch the line. You always gonna finish through the line, right? You always gonna take the extra shot. You ain't never gonna lead a gym on a miss. That type of behavior, right, is the type of behavior that's comely to a servant of Christ. That's the type of behavior you should exemplify, right? Again, when I mean not let it go to your head, don't let this go to your head. Don't let the position of saying that I'm better than somebody, even though I don't have their position, go to your head either, because that can cause you to err in your righteousness when it comes to executing your job with perfection. Again, you exemplify Christ, you exemplify the Most High in all things that you do, right? Sirach 43 and 30, when you glorify the Lord, exalt him as often as you can. Every time you claim to be an Israelite, or if you're somebody who say you believe in God and you read the Bible, every time you go to work, every time you step into the job, it's always a chance to exemplify the name of the Lord. And you got to do that regardless. So even if you feel like you're better than somebody on your job at what y'all do, right? You if they're over you as far as position wise, if they're over you as far as position wise, still be a good hireling. Because again, you're exemplifying the name of the Lord. And when it's time to get that promotion, you don't want the Lord to spin your iniquity back in your face. Now, when you get promoted, you got workers who are rebellious, insubordinate, don't want to listen, talk about you. You can't get through to them. Now, your life is a living hell at the workplace because you feel like, well, I'm qualified to do the job. I got the promotion, but now I'm having a hard time of doing good by, uh, I guess you could say, being a manager. And then when it's time to review, well, how did the company act under your management, or how did this group act under your management? Terrible. Now you get stripped from your position, you right back where you started, right? So these are just things to consider again throughout everyday life, throughout our walk, right? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what somebody else does. It matters about what you do. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, can I get a definition real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Right, because that verse described it to a T. Um, right, not with eye service, man. Not as men pleasers, but you do it from the heart. Integrity, the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles, moral uprightness, right? So a lot of people will say doing the right thing when nobody's looking. That's the cliche, right? Doing the right thing when nobody's looking, right? Having strong moral principles. So that right there is like it's naming it, man. You know what I'm saying? Not as men pleasers, right? But from the heart. And the brother Isaiah is a coach. And if you guys watch a lot of movies, a lot of sports movies and stuff, even if you watch a lot of award ceremonies, right? You'll see the coach. And when before he about to give like the best award to somebody, might be player of the year, MVP, might be whatever, right? He give a little speech. He say, "Now you may not thought I was looking, but I was there when you was in the gym by yourself. I was there when you was running suicide by yourself. I was there. I saw it when the whole team was cutting the corners. You went around the corners. You touched every line. You deserve this, right? And what happens that makes the person that was doing those things, right, start crying and get emotional because he's like, dang, the stuff I thought nobody was paying attention to, somebody was paying attention to, all because I chose to do the right thing. And that's how God looks at us. When God comes back to collect his elect, right? Collect his elect, you're going to be teary-eyed because you're going to be like, dang, God really was watching everything that I was doing. You're going to be teary-eyed too if you ain't been doing the right thing, because you're going to be like, dang, God was really watching everything I was doing. God can fire you too, just like a job can fire you. Right? Your manager, your supervisor, your director, they might not have seen you, but them cameras saw you. You know what I'm saying? Can't escape them cameras. Just like you can't escape the eyes of God, man. So yeah, man, I just want to harp on that, not with eye service as men please, man, but from the heart. You got to be doing this from the heart, man. And that's what separates you from the truth and being in the world. Are you doing this from the heart? Or are you only doing this for reward? I yield.
Con. That's why again it's important to know that, man. And I'm just telling y'all about the conversation, the experience I had. Matter of fact, the brothers got on. When was that? Thursday. And I think that I'm the one who asked to get on Thursday because Wednesday, man, I was feeling ill, and we normally try to get on Wednesday, Thursday, and on the Sabbath. But nonetheless, man, I had missed Thursday's night live because I had a hard day at work that day, man. And I ain't gonna lie, I came home and I crashed out. And I'm not talking about crashed out like I started going off on my wife and children. Nah, I mean like I ate, man, and I was sitting down. Next thing I know, I look up, man, it's like 4 o'clock in the morning. I said, God, Lee. You know what I'm saying? And I said like this, man. I had a hard day at work because sometimes, and that's why I had to have the conversation with my wife on my lunch break, man, because she offers a different perspective if I feel like, I'm tripping. But sometimes you just got to remind yourself like we in captivity. So it's supposed to be hard, It's supposed to be vexing to a certain extent. Like sometimes I get caught up in wanting to, be in captivity, but not really feel it for real. You know what I'm saying? Especially because I know that there are brothers and sisters in this world in captivity, but not really in it for real. You get what I'm saying? And sometimes I want that for myself. And sometimes I feel like, doing the right thing, showing up to work every day, working hard, doing what's told and what's asked of me, never having been late, you know, I feel like, yes, that's exactly what's required of me. You shouldn't get no award for doing exactly what's required. But at the same time, I feel like, hey man, I can, flex a little bit. But hey man, the Lord had me eat a little humble slice of pie come Thursday. And I'm not gonna lie, man, it was a tough day. And pretty much all I'm saying that to say is that it caused me to reflect on, exactly what we're saying right now. Being a good hireling, not letting anything go to my head, right? Not letting the good work that I've done on the job go to my head, not letting, certain skills that I possess since I've started my job or certain skills that I possess even before I had my job go to my head, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm nobody, right? Even in the eyes of the Lord, I'm nobody. And at my job right now, I've only been there on the job for 70 days. I'm still nobody. You know, people have been there 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years. It ain't gonna be 2 months you come in and now all of a sudden you just calling shots, or 2 months you come in and you just got this great big promotion and now you running the place. Has it happened to people before? Yeah, I'm sure. With this company, maybe not. I don't know. Has it happened to people that we know across the world? Maybe so. But does that mean it's going to happen for you? Not necessarily. So you just kind of gotta be in the mindset each and every day as a lowly man coming to work and doing what's required of you. The brother Denal, when we used to work together at this company last year, he used to say this saying all the time: "It's a job, it all pays the same. It's a job, Regardless of the work they had him doing, he would just say it's a job, you know, because at the end of the day, it's not about, oh, well, I'm qualified, I shouldn't have to do this, or I got this skill, I shouldn't have to do that. It's about if you got a boss and they tell you to do something, you do it because that's a part of being a great hireling, right? Now, let's read verse 7 through 9. I won't interrupt.
Come on, man. Verse 7. Uh, with good will doing service as to the Lord and not to men. Verse 8. Knowing that whatsoever good thing any man doeth, the same man shall he receive of the Lord, whether he be bond or free. Verse 9. And ye masters, do the same things unto them, forbearing, threatening, knowing that your master also is in heaven, neither is there respect of persons with him.
Right. So a couple things that was said, man, with goodwill service as to the Lord and not to men. One thing that'll help you get through the work week when you're dealing with oppressors and you're dealing with the pride of oppressors or the pride of people who are in positions higher than you and they treat you like, a peasant. They don't treat you like, a good servant. They treat you like you a dog and here's a crumb and you're gonna lick the dust of the earth from my boot, right? What will help you get through the week without being so vexed, what'll help you get through the week without thinking that, you're pleasing them, is reminding yourself that you're doing this for the sake of the Lord, like we said earlier. With goodwill service, as to the Lord, as to the Most High. Everything you do is for the glorifying of Him, right? So you do it well because He gave you the ability to do so, not because you want to impress boss man. That's what it means with goodwill service, right? As to the Lord, right? Because, like the brother said earlier, if you're a good somebody who's kept your integrity and you're a good hireling, when it's time for you to be in that position, you'll be someone who inherits good hirelings, right? But if you're someone who was a bad hireling because you felt like it's not fair that they got that position, or you felt like you was better than them, or you felt like you didn't have to listen to them, right? You rebelled, you talked back, you did X, Y, and Z. Guess what? You're going to get those same type of workers when it's time for you to get a promotion, right? When it's time for you to manage a crew. And that's why, again, I always have to check myself because, yeah, do I feel like, I'm not even going to say, do I feel like, I have a leader on my crew, right, who I'm under, and I had a conversation with him. I'm not going to share the details thereof, but it just kind of caught me by surprise because, in my head, I'm like, why don't you come to me and talk to me about XYZ stuff? Why don't you just never come say XYZ? And I tried to have a conversation with him, and the conversation kind of amounted to nothing. It went south. It wasn't really fruitful because emotions got involved, not mine, but that's neither here nor there. But what I will say is that it put me in the spirit of, dang, what am I really doing this for? But then I got to reflect on scriptures like this, with goodwill service as to the Lord. Sometimes it's not about the opinions of men that matters. It's about how the Lord feels about you. And when you go to work, it doesn't matter if you feel like, well, dang, I'm doing all this hard work, but they still ain't gonna give me that promotion. I still got to show up to work and do great every day. Why? Because the Lord is pleased with it. Hey, the grass I gotta cut, the Lord is pleased that I cut it. Hey, look, the trees that I gotta cut down, the Lord is pleased that I cut the dead tree down, right? So new ones can sprout up. Hey, look, the leaves that I got to mulch up, hey, the Lord is pleased that I was able to beautify his land by mulching up those leaves. That's just kind of the mindset that I have to have when I'm at work, right? We do a lot of picking up trash too. So when I'm walking the streets, maybe my boss not going to think, oh, he's doing a good job, but the Lord will. And that's how you can get yourself through the working week, right? That's how you can kind of motivate yourself to do good on your job, regardless of position. That's how you can kind of humble yourself because, again, you can't let certain things go to your head. Con, go ahead.
I was gonna say, man, when you think about Daniel, Daniel didn't try to overthrow Nebuchadnezzar, right, or his son, right? When you look at Joseph, Joseph didn't try to overthrow Pharaoh, right? Now, I say that to say, a lot of us, man, we'll get with other coworkers and we'll try to get bosses fired because we don't like them, right? As a students, sometimes we try to get teachers fired if we don't like them, right? For an example, man, I talked to some college students that got one of my professors that used to teach me, got him fired, right? They all signed positions and everything. And I told him, I said, man, he ain't acting no different from how he's treated everybody. But that ain't right, though. He shouldn't be. Hey, sometimes God put certain people in your life to teach you lessons and to give you endurance and so that he can try you, bruh. Even if that person isn't doing right by you, right? Same thing with Joseph, right? Because Joseph he got thrown into prison by Pharaoh. He got blessed by Pharaoh, but he also got thrown into prison by Pharaoh too, right? Same thing with Daniel. Daniel got blessed by Nebuchadnezzar, but he also got thrown into the lion's den, right? So the thing is, man, who cares who you working for? You just posted like the brother Isaiah said, man, do everything that you do every single day to the honor of God, man. You know what I'm saying? You don't do things because this is the thing. As a student, you don't know what your trajectory may be in the future. You may become a teacher and you may see things differently once you become a teacher and be like, damn, we really fired old buddy. And now me being older, I can see what he was trying to do for us, right? And now you got kids trying to fire you because guess what? We don't believe in karma, but we believe in what you reap is what you sow, right? You become a supervisor, a manager, and now your employees trying to get you caught up and fired, all because of what you did back in the day. Or even worse, your children, your daughter or your son may get up in the world, get a high position, and because of how you treated somebody when you were somebody's worker, right? Now, guess what? Now they going through what you did to somebody else because you got somebody else fired because you lied on somebody, X, Y, and Z. That's why, guess what? You got to just keep your head down, let your day be what it is. Look forward to fellowshipping on these holy days and with your brethren that are in the truth. It said who your mother, your brother, your sister. Look forward to fellowshipping with them and look forward to the Sabbath day. and endure. You know what I'm saying? Stop trying to get into all matter of drama and folly throughout the work week. That's, you know what that is? That's lust and temptation causing causing your spirit to move out of order and to be taken into uh depression, heavy heartedness, rebellion, right? All of those, man. Come on now. Pecan, I yield.
Con. I mean, it's just important to understand that, because at the end of the day, man, we got to remember Matthew 11:30 when Christ said, "For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Right? The Most High God had John write down in 1 John 5:3, man. Hey, um, for this is the love of God, that we keep His commandments, and His commandments are not grievous. Right? So we just got to remember that the things that we should be doing is not grievous for us to do. Right? It's just about emotions and attitudes. It's just when emotions and attitudes get involved, that's when things become harder than they should be. Like the brother just said, one thing I try not to do is get involved in workplace drama, because at the end of the day, I don't want my job being no harder than what it already is. You know what I'm saying? We have some light days, but we have some hard days. And I don't want to add anything to that, being caught up in drama, being caught up in, disputations about anything because of any reason, right? So if we eliminate a lot of the emotion and a lot of the pride that is built up within us, right, we'll eliminate a lot of the confusion, expectations, and heartbreaks and failures that we have in this captivity, right? Ultimately making it easier for us to endure in this captivity, like the brother just said. If we just put our head down, grind, and look forward to the Sabbath day every time, it comes around, every time we get an opportunity to open up our eyes and see it, we'll be all right, right? Let's now verse 9, after he read that, I wanted him to read that, because again, as well as you got to be a good hireling, if you're someone who's a servant, if you're somebody who's in a position to be a master, you got to be a good master as well, right? Everything that we said for the hireling applies to you. That's why we read Matthew 22:39 to start it off. The second great commandment is love thy neighbor as thyself, right? Those under you, you got to treat them with the same level of respect that you treated your master with, right? The same level of respect that you treat the owner of the company, the CEO of the company, the president, chairman, vice, whatever of the company. It's the same respect you got to treat those who are under you as an entry level employee, a general laborer, right? A worker one. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, again, love thy neighbor as thyself. You're not judged by their actions, you judge by yours, right? And we have to remind ourselves each and every day to do a little reality check with our pride, whether it be on our workplace, because of certain things that we have in this life or obtain in this life, right? That's why we read 1 John 2:15, right? Because we love the world, we begin to glory in these possessions, we begin to glory in these titles, and we begin to treat each other like boo-boo, you know you got a little bit more money, now you're looking down on the poor man. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't be like that, right? So this is why we need to have one of these, man. Don't let none of that go to your head, right? Money, positions, titles, doesn't matter. Nothing. Don't let it go to your head. It said, remember his joints were pulled apart, one body moving for 400 years. That's a long walk with divided joints broken, but he will heal that now and bring you back together. Con. We've been walking divided for a long time, even in times past, right? But I just got a couple more precepts. Could we please pull the book of Ecclesiasticus, Sirach, chapter 10. Chapter 10, right? We're gonna read a few here, and then we'll shut it off. Let's start at verse number 12. Let's start at verse 12, then we're gonna jump back to 7.
The book of Sirach, chapter 10 and verse number 12. The beginning of pride is when one departeth from God, and his heart is turned away from his maker.
Con. What does verse 7 say?
Verse number 7 says, pride is hateful before God and man, and by both doth one commit iniquity.
Amen. Again, we got to eliminate this pride, right? Because by both doth one commit iniquity, right? Because let's read verse 13. What does verse 13 say?
For pride is the beginning of sin, and he that had it shall pour out abomination. And therefore the Lord brought upon the strange calamities and overthrew them utterly.
If you don't want to be overthrown by the Most High God, right, then stop being so prideful about anything, right? You got to humble yourself sometimes, and you got to have humility because that's the only way you'll be someone with great character, great integrity, right? Because again, you don't let any amount of pride creep into your life and cause you to kind of, puff up, cause you to kind of act out of order, right? Cause you to kind of not know your place, know your role, know how to play it. Again, we did a lesson a few Sabbaths ago talking about what is our role in our relationship with the Most High. A lot of the reason that the people don't serve the Most High is just due to pride, right? People feel like in captivity, they want to be able to do what they want to do because we're in captivity. So they choose to break the commandments thereof. That's just pride. Some people keep the commandments in the slightest bit, but say other commandments you don't got to follow because, well, we in captivity. It's hard for us to do certain things. And the Lord knows our heart and he understands that's pride, right? You got to make it easier on yourself to live in this life, right? We got to eliminate the pride from within us. So the best way to do that is remember that, again, pride is the beginning of when one hearts depart from the Most High. So if you feel like you're starting to get prideful in any manner of life that you live in, right? I'm not saying in any manner of life that you live in as in you out here living a lawless life because that's ultimate pride. What I'm saying is you're somebody who's knowledgeable about pride, right? The commandments of the Lord, and pride begins to creep up in you in the slightest bit. It doesn't matter where you're at. It doesn't matter what you're doing, what your occupation is, right? If you experience that little bit of pride, you need to cast it down. It doesn't matter if you got all the skills in the world to be the highest of the high position in your company. If you're at the lowest of the low position right now, then anytime pride creeps in saying I can do his job better than him or he don't know what he's doing, I can do it, like, you need to kill that. Because at the end of the day, it's pride and it'll cause you to commit iniquity, right? This is the wisdom that was given unto us that we should all follow, right? Let's jump down to verse number 18, right? Salakia, um read verse 14 real quick, 14, 15, and then we'll read 18.
Verse 14, the Lord has cast down the thrones of proud princes and set up the meek in their stead. The Lord has plucked up the roots of the proud nations and planted the lowly in their place.
Right. So pretty much it's just like Proverbs 16 and 18. Pride coming before destruction, right? You should know that if you start to experience pride, you got a next thing to know if you start glorying in it, you will be destroyed, right? The Lord will overthrow you as he overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, as he overthrew the proud nations, right? So we got to eliminate pride from within us in order to be able to, again, live a somewhat of a peaceful lifestyle. Let me just say that, somewhat of a peaceful. It's a lot more peaceful when you eliminate pride in your life. When you begin to think about even committing sins, right? Say your gripe isn't with your coworker or anybody, any work related position. Say your gripe is with certain sins that you just feel like you can't break away from. That's just because of pride, right? Pride. Again, pride is the beginning of sin. You feel prideful as if the Lord won't judge you right now, today, for what you're doing, right? In that moment. You feel like the Lord won't judge you for relapsing, going back to your vomit like a dog returns to, as it mentions in the book of Proverbs. You got to eliminate pride from within you in order to be able to live somewhat of a peaceful lifestyle, right? And this is just, again, a message to not only myself, and I'm not by no means saying I'm being prideful to an extent. I'm puffing myself up at work. No, but I do have sometimes these thoughts like, I'm doing a good job and I give myself a reward on the back, and I feel like, maybe some people who are over me feel the same. Again, the Lord has a great way of humbling you and allowing you to, I guess you could say, know your role, right? Doesn't matter if I didn't speak ill against the man. Doesn't matter if I didn't say certain things. What matters is maybe some of the thoughts I had and maybe some of the ways I felt, right, had to be corrected before they became certain actions and certain things. So the Lord has a way of letting you know certain things and putting you in your position for the sake of maybe maybe it not escalating to certain points, or maybe giving you a check to say, hey, nah, you ain't him. Not yet. You know what I'm saying? Not right now, you know? But at the end of the day, That's all we came on here to say, man. Let's read verse 21 and we'll close out. Oh, verse 18. Verse 18 and we'll close out.
Pride
Con.
was not made for men,
Hold
nor
up,
fears
Salakia.
anger.
Salaki, I was gonna say something before you read that. I was gonna say, man, when you read like he planted the lowly in their place, right? That's big because when you look at David, David was blessed to have the opportunity to show that he was worthy, but for a long time, he was that lowly planted in his own place, right? As a shepherd boy, right? Now, some of us will have opportunities to be increased, right? It just so happened that everybody was scared and God put a spirit of, boldness in him to where he could slay Goliath. But some of us might not get that opportunity to be increased because, like the brother Isaiah said, God ultimately knows us better than we know ourselves. He knows what we can handle, what we can't. We might not be able to handle being over other people. We might be, we might not be able to handle certain amounts of money. We might not be able to handle certain amount of riches or the blessings that we want, right? If that was the case, some of us wouldn't even be in the truth. Some of us would be rappers. Some of us would be professional athletes. Some of us would be singers. Some of us would be models, right? But God has planted us in lowly places. Some of us right here, it might be not talking about this per se, but double to that which is. God has planted us in lowly places for reasons. He may give you a chance to exalt yourself. He may not. But all your job is to do like Ecclesiastes tell us the whole duty of man. Your job is to just keep
Yeah.
doing the commandments through it all, right? And the commandments, go back to Matthew 22 we read earlier, loving God and loving your neighbor, So I yield.
Time. If you can read verse 18 one more time, brother, then wait. Salakia, can you scroll down a little bit, brother Azrael? I'm trying to see if you can see. Um, yeah, verse 18. Kind. I'll read it. It says,
No.
"Pride was not made for men, nor fierce anger for them that are born of a woman." Right. So pretty much, man, um, we was not made to be prideful people, right? Because of pride is when our hearts departed from the Most High, right? The whole situation with Adam and Eve was a prideful situation, man. The sin that they committed, pride rose up in them, and they committed the iniquity, right? Same way with us. Certain I guess you could say scenarios, situations in our lives, pride rises up in us, and then we commit the iniquity, right? So we got to just cut the pride, eliminate, the love of this world in our hearts, right? And if we do like the brother Azrael just said, Ecclesiastes 12 and 13, fear God and keep the commandments, for this is the whole duty of men, we'll have a more peaceful lifestyle than if we give ourselves over to these possessions. And if we give ourselves over to the opinions of men, right? We got to trust in the Lord, not trust in your boss. Trust in the Lord, not trust in your manager, right? Uh, but again, most high willing you all were edified. I don't got nothing else to add. Does this brothers have anything to add?
Nah.
I say Salakia, man.
Mighty lesson.
Sidetrack. But now I will say, now it's an important lesson. And some of the people that we examine in this lesson, you know, it's important to examine their lives, right? Like we brought up King David. We all see King David for the king that he is, but we didn't see him when he was slaying lions and bears and stuff, and he wasn't protecting people, but he was protecting dumb animals, right? And so it's important to know that before we get into positions, some people give it to them, they get it on a silver platter, right? Solomon got it from his father when he was 8 years old, or some argue 18, but still on a silver platter. And so when we see that, some people see that and they want that to be their lives. But the reality of the situation is some people got to be like David. Some people got to do the little things before they get called up. And they got and look at life as a proving, right? Every situation that you're in,
understand that your God does not see time in the way that you see time, right? Your God sees you in a position where he's putting you so that when you are called up, you're more than capable of handling what's in front of you. Um, and so we didn't see David slaying bears and lions, right? But that's a big deal. Like, I know he took out Goliath, but honestly, man, if I'm thinking, man, like a bear and a lion probably be a little bit more frightening than going to go against Goliath. You know what I'm saying? And he did that behind closed doors for things now, for animals now that people could care less about, right? I know a lot of people that have farm animals. Some people love their animals, but some could, if a coyote's outside, they're not going outside. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna check the aftermath. And we had a king that did all this stuff behind closed doors, like the brothers mentioned in this lesson earlier, that when he was called to protect the nation, he was able to do so, and we knew his heart was going to be in the right place, because if his heart was in the right place for dumb animals, we knew his heart was going to be in the right place for his people, right? And so looking at that, we see that the Most High, he puts us in situations, not worrying about how much time we're in that situation, but he's putting us in that position to prepare us for what's going to become, right? And I know that sounds cliche, but we look at our lives like we want to be little Solomons, right? And get stuff handed to us, not realizing that a lot of us are Jacobs who had to work 7 years for his wife. And it wasn't even the wife that he wanted. Some of us work 7 years for a job and we get promoted or get a little $2 raise that we didn't even want, right? And we got to work some more. So he had to work 14 years just to get what he actually wanted. And when you look at that, man, it's nobody wants that for their life, but he was willing to do so because he actually had a goal that he loved and he set his mind to accomplish that, right? Before he became the patriarch, before his name was changed, he had to work 14 years for something that he loved, right? Something that he desired. How much do you desire something? And it's like, if you're not willing to put in the work, right? For something that you desire, do you really desire it? Or is it for vain reasons? You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times when you commit to something, it don't matter how long you're in that building stage. The Most High, when he checks your heart posture and he knows that you're in it for the right reasons, he'll cut that time short, right? And he'll bless you, he'll promote you, things of that nature, right? But first you got to be willing to go through that fire and stop looking at our lives like we're little Solomons and start looking more like we're little Davids and little Jacobs. You know what I'm saying? But Khan, I you.
Con. Hey, that's a mighty point too, man. You gotta love the Lord like Jacob loved that woman. If you don't love the Lord like Jacob loved that woman, you ain't gonna last long, man. You're gonna get tired. Cause you pretty much getting beat up every day, man. And I'm not saying physically like beat up, but I'm saying spiritually, attack's gonna try to come, you know. But hey, Isaiah 54:17, no weapon formed against me shall prosper, man. And I wanted to read this too before we went. This brother said, like, that goes back to your conversation last week. Know your position, know the road to your personal salvation, and seek that as your focus, right? Shalom and all praises, right? Because again, this is what we talked about today. It's kind of sort of touching the topic of, the second part of, knowing your position, right? With your relationship with the Most High. At the end of the day, you just gotta remind yourself that you can't get bigger than the set, man. You got to role play it, right? It doesn't matter what your skill set is, whatever the head coach designed for you to do, whatever the head manager designed for you to do, whatever the head person in charge designed for you to do it well for the glory of the Lord, not for the acceptance of men, right? Well, with that, we say Shabbat Shalom. I lied to the brothers once today. I'm not gonna lie again on the Sabbath, man, because I told them we weren't gonna be that long. But hey, through the Spirit, man, we here. But Shabbat Shalom.
If it's less than an hour, it ain't that long, brother. It's 59 minutes and 27 seconds.
Yeah, Khan. Well, hey, man, all praise, glory, honor to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This your brothers from the hopeful elect, man, coming at you with another Sabbath lesson. We say Shalom. Peace be unto you. Peace be with you. And Lord willing, you were edified through this lesson and carry something throughout the week that you learn from today. But Shalom.
You ain't gathering, you scattering.